Stephen Human is powered by your applause.
Yes, thank you. Hey everybody, this is a special episode of the Geek Report. We are live from FantasyCon. I got Andrew Swanova and Drew Tyler here. This is the Geek Report. Well, this is really cool. This is something that we've never done before. You guys ever been on a panel before?
I've been on panels, but not one.
No, never.
This is really cool.
I've
We're
been
having
to
a lot of fun
panels,
here.
but never been on one.
So, for those of you who don't know about the Geek Report in the crowd, we are the Geek Show. We talk about all things geek, fantasy, tech, comic books, movies, you name it. If you think it's geeky, we talk about it.
Yeah, if you're embarrassed about it, that's what we're talking
Yes, exactly.
No, if you're embarrassed about it, embrace it. Embrace your geek.
If you're at FantasyCon, then you are embracing your geek. Let me tell you, because this is a whole other level. In fact, when I was looking for news stories, I figured that I should start with something that is fantasy related. So I actually went to Google and I typed in fantasy news. You know, you can do comic book news, that sort of thing. Typed in fantasy news. The first 4 pages were fantasy football. So I thought that's unfortunate for fantasy fans because you can't just type in fantasy news. But if you're a fantasy football fan, which I know that Andrew is.
Yeah, I am a fantasy football geek, and I think it's fair enough to let everybody out there know that there is nothing geekier than fantasy football.
I agree.
Okay, there's a certain fantasy to it. Like, I mean, you are basically basing your fun in your whole party off of somebody else's work, right?
Pretty much.
Well, it's not even about the football games themselves. It's all about statistics.
Statistics, okay.
It doesn't matter who the
one
player
class I
is or
failed,
anything.
so-
It matters what their statistic is.
That's geeky.
So
It is.
fantasy football. So I apologize to all the fantasy fans out there that you can't just go in and type in fantasy news.
But what would you get really? Would you get in the forest of...
Well, that's what I wanted to know. Well, because I don't know, like literature, like maybe, somebody's writing a book. I don't know. I'm a geek, but I'm not in the fantasy stuff. And so I didn't really know where to go. I mean, I come across it, but I didn't know if there was a cache of information about fantasy news. So I figured I would look it up.
Okay, so what do you got?
Okay.
What did you come up with?
All right, well, let's go ahead and start with the Week in Geek. Now, the week of 4th of July doesn't tend to be the greatest week for news of any type because things just aren't really put out very much. But the big news of the week was the picture of Superman. The first picture of Superman from Superman versus Batman. It hit the internet. You see it right there. It's a gorgeous thing because I love Man of Steel. I know some people didn't, but I love that movie.
My first thought is it's such a great thing that they could Photoshop that shot of Superman from the first movie.
It
looks
different.
awesome.
It's different. The suit is slightly different. If you pay attention, it's slightly different. The colors have been changed, and his hair is shorter. They actually cut his hair for this, so it is a picture from. Come on up. Come on up. Right up front. There's some room. We want people here. We're having fun. We're filming a live TV show.
We expect laughter and round of applause.
Yeah. So you guys have to be super loud. Okay.
Stephen Human is powered by your applause.
Exactly.
So just
Otherwise,
like in
it's not gonna
Neverland,
work,
if you
so
don't applaud, he will
Thanks
die.
for coming. We're talking about our first story for those of you who just arrived, which is the first picture of Superman versus Batman that's come out.
So I'm
Picture of
still a
Superman.
little disappointed they don't have the spit curl.
I don't think you would have the spit curl in real life. I think it's a little bit too much to keep. Anyway, so you've seen the photo. He's standing there all big and buff in the rain in what appears to be Gotham City. Okay, if it is in fact Gotham City, which it looks like it, you can see the smoke coming up. This obviously is a metropolis. If it is Gotham City, then this is the first ever live action photo of Superman in Gotham City, which is pretty cool. That has never happened before. Now, I know that a lot of us have had the debate about who would win in a fight, Superman or Batman.
Oh, I've seen that debate.
We have had this debate.
I say that.
This
We've
is a
had this
continual debate.
I'm sure that you've all had that debate, right? We all know that Superman would win, but
No. Batman is willing to go further than Superman
that's
ever
always
would.
the thing. Okay, it's called heat vision to the face. That's it.
And he would never do that because he's too nice. And
Anyway,
then he cries.
he's too nice.
He cries when he
Oh,
murders a guy
God.
that needs to be murdered.
Because he loves life, okay? He loves life. Batman hangs out with a little
Batman would
boy.
murder a guy straight up like General Zod.
Okay. All right, well, so this is going to be an ongoing debate forever.
Yes, I don't think that one's in it.
No, it's never going to end. But if you were to look at the picture of Henry Cavill as Superman, and then if you look at Ben Affleck, I think we can all agree that if the two of them were to get into a fight, Henry Cavill would kick Batman's ass. Okay? Bar none.
I'll give you that one.
Question
I'll concede
answered.
that fight.
You're welcome, world. Superman would beat Batman. Okay? In tech news, Oculus has sold over 100,000 units this year. Okay? And these aren't consumer units. These are just their like beta test units. Okay? Drew, tell us a little bit about Oculus Rift. You're the tech guy.
So the Oculus Rift, obviously, you guys remember, was something that launched a couple years ago on Kickstarter as this idea that we want to get in virtual reality, how much, the black box you stick your face in and experience new things. Want to get that down so cheap that just about anybody can have it, and we can implement it into PC gaming and other things.
What would be the point of that? That's my question. I don't understand what the point of that is.
And I have to take, I've tried it on several times, and I've tried on different iterations of VR goggles, but really the idea is to immerse yourself in an experience. It's one thing to sit across from your 55-inch TV and play your games, but when you put that in, into your vision, it's just short of shooting lasers at your eyes and getting the exact experience. So then you add in the twisting of the head and motion of your body getting into the game. So that's the experience that PC gamers really want and have tried to get. Oculus came around and said we can do that for cheap, and a lot of developers started out and said, okay, well, we'll start making games for it if it is that cheap. So that blew up, did really well on Kickstarter, and then Facebook picked it up for $2 billion.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
I'll never get to see that. So having 100,000 units out there in production means that they're most likely these are geeks. These are people that want to have their hands on the newest and latest.
Well, because these are just the development kits.
Things, right? So
These,
so
yeah.
they have the access to okay, now that I make my game, I can make it in my 3D world and I can shoot it on your eyeballs.
Well, as much as I would knock 3D in movies, can you imagine going to an Oculus movie?
Where everybody just sits in their seats with their
Okay, well,
glasses
so I get the thrill of the technology of it, potentially changing how you play games and watch movies and do all of that stuff. Right now, though, the technology isn't quite there.
It still makes me
It's still, okay, that's my thing. These are $350.
right there.
I can get vertigo and throw up for free. I can do it right now if you guys want. I can go and start spinning around right here, and I can go to town on this table for free. So, but they've sold 100,000 of them. Good for them.
Good, and I think all we're missing is that lag time between what you experience, what you think you're controlling, and then what happens, and that's what they're really going to be working on. That's why I'm excited that Facebook is behind some of that, because of the money, not because of the content, but because of the money. They can try and get that lag to be minimal, and maybe we won't screw up.
And maybe eventually they will. But congratulations to Oculus for selling all of those at $350 a pop when they're not quite to standard. But good for them.
Well, there's no content. I mean, that's
These are the guys
disappointing
that are
anyway.
making the content.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm in a 3D world right now. I can touch stuff. Isn't that
Almost like the
crazy?
front row is right there.
Yeah, I've got water right here. I can drink it.
Was it cool? Was it wet?
Interactive. It's wet. All right, they also announced this week that the 60s Batman television show is finally coming out on DVD and Blu-ray in November. Finally. After all these years, can you believe it? It's finally coming out, and you can watch it at home.
So a lot of people that are kind of in our age range, this is their first ever exposure to Batman.
Yeah, other than the movie, which has been available on Blu-ray for
And I mean, this is kind of a huge deal to me, because not only am I like nuts about collecting DVDs and Blu-rays, but nuts about Batman, and in particular the 60s show. I mean, it's kitschy, it's campy.
It's fun.
But
a fun
it's
show.
fun.
It really, really is.
Blu-ray. I mean, did they upscale everything?
No, they've remastered it from the original elements.
Yeah. So it's obviously not widescreen, unfortunately. It'll still be cropped, but it'll be HD, which is awesome.
And the trailer, they showed a little sizzle reel
Yeah, I
they put
saw
together, and the shots from the show, it just looks incredible.
So we'll all be able to watch Batman. And who can forget some of the villains that they introduced, like King Tut and Egghead? It's classic stuff.
Vincent Price was Egghead.
I know he was. And I remember the King Tut, that the way he became King Tut is that he got hit on the head. And then and he became King Tut, who was a bad guy. And then I remember there was an episode where he was in some kind of sanatorium, and he got hit on the head and became King Tut. And then the two guys who were his guards also got hit on the head. And then they became his guards. I always wanted to have that happen. It's like, oh, and now I am your ruler. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes, master.
That would be killer. But in all seriousness, though, I think that they need to bring this show back. I think they need to do a modern version of it, seriously, with Will Arnett as Batman. That show would be killer. That would be the funniest show on television. And then if you get Steve Carell to play Robin,
oh yes,
then you have something special. You have something awesome. I know.
Why
Wouldn't
can't
that be
we
great?
make it called Comedy Central? You got connections, right?
That would be funny as crap. So finally, Holy Blu-ray Batman, we're going to be able to watch it on Blu-ray. So that's good stuff. All right, our last story is that in November, Marvel is going to be killing off Wolverine.
For real?
For real. So they've got this series coming out that's called, appropriately enough, The Death of Wolverine. And they this week released a whole bunch of covers showing the death of Wolverine. Apparently he's lost his mojo. I don't know. Is anybody out there actually think this is going to happen?
They make a pill for that.
He's lost his mojo.
But they named the whole series like after like the major plot point. Like
It's a 4-issue miniseries called The Death of Wolverine. Fairly in your face.
yeah.
They can make 7 movies out of that? Probably.
Absolutely,
Thank you,
in this
Tom.
day and age.
Yeah, they probably could. But so yeah, 4 issues, The Death of Wolverine, at the end of which apparently he's going to die. I don't think that this is actually going to happen. I don't know about you guys. Raise of hands, who out there actually thinks that Wolverine is going to die at the end of this story?
I think he'll actually
Okay, there's
die.
2 out here? Okay, you think he'll die, but he'll come back. Okay, no one's dead for more than 3 issues. Anyone agree with that he's going to die and then come back?
Yes.
Okay, like every hand is up. All right, that makes sense. I agree with that. But I have a problem with that because as a writer, I think that's a cheat. And so they die and they come back, or they get aliens abduct them, or they were actually traveling through time during that whole time, which actually happened to
But
Batman.
I think despite Superman dying and coming back, despite back in the early 90s when that happened, it still had weight to it when it happened.
did, because
and it
that
still
was- yeah.
continues to have weight to it.
But these other ones don't. I mean, how many people have died since Superman died? You've got
I think the Batman
Johnny
death
Storm
still
and
has
Batman
weight to it, too.
and Captain America, and I mean, I could go through a whole list. I was thinking about researching it.
Yes, but as a producer, anybody that dies 3 years later, I bring them back. I still start making money. Right?
That's
my thinking
that's
of it.
the
Like,
thing
why
is that
would I
you
post
keep making money. But I want to go on record right now as saying we mentioned Superman because he was like the first big one, but he's not the first big one. And since we're at FantasyCon, I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. The fault of this is not on Superman. The fault of this death and rebirth is on Gandalf. Because Gandalf, he fell into the abyss fighting the Balrog at the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. And then he comes back as Gandalf the White. He's more powerful. You can't tell me that isn't the precursor to every comic book death.
It's not
since
Gandalf's
then.
fault.
It's totally Gandalf's fault.
Damn you, J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, okay, it's
wherever
Tolkien's
you
fault.
are.
It's Tolkien's fault, and I'm going to go on the record saying it. He's a hack, and I hate it. No, I'm kidding. I'm reading The Lord of the Rings books with my son right now, who's sitting in the front
There are
room.
people with foam swords that will come.
I know,
right
they
at you.
will kill me. They will kill me right now. No, I'm reading The Lord of the Rings with my 10-year-old son right now, and we love it. We're going to watch the movies.
After this, we're going to go put you down in the LARP arena, and we're going to
they
let him
will
just
beat
beat
me to
you.
death. That would be cool to film, though. Television host gets killed at FantasyCon because he says he doesn't like Lord of the Rings, which I do. I do like Lord of the Rings, so don't take that wrong. Everyone's drinking, so I'm going to drink too. That's good. All right, so yes, it's Gandalf's fault. I'm going to go on the record saying that, and that is the Week in Geek, everybody. There is your news for the week of the 4th of July for the Geek Report. Thank you. All right. Well, this is a show for those of you who aren't aware. We finished our first season just about a month and a half ago. We're starting our second season in September. You can watch it on the CW. It looks like we're going to be on at 9:30 p.m. on Saturday nights. Fantastic. Very good time. We always wanted to push the envelope a little bit, but at 3:30 p.m. on Saturdays, it's kind of hard to say words like ass. You can't get away with that.
Is there a clock moment that's like, all right, in the TV world, after 9 p.m. you can say ass?
I think it's a general rule of thumb.
I would think at 3:30 in the afternoon that would be it. You'd be stretching it.
I mean, I have little girls. They go to bed at 8:30 or so, so probably 9 o'clock is a great time to
That's
start
what
saying
I
ass.
was
But
going to say.
That's what I started saying.
I think that's what we're going to call the show.
If we're live on the internet right now,
Yes, ass. We can say ass on the internet. Woo! I can start cussing right now.
But
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
I'm totally excited that we've got a solid slot. 9:30 at CW is a great place.
Yeah.
for it.
No, it's a good place for it. That's where we wanted it from the beginning.
and best of all, we totally avoid that
So-
Saturday afternoon NASCAR crowd.
My wife is right over here. You guys can't see. Maybe we can pull a camera over to her. But we have my 4 children here who are all under the age of 10.
Daddy's important.
I know. Daddy's saying the word ass. Mommy, what does that mean? It's a
raising them
donkey,
right.
children. It's in the Bible. All right, well, we actually have an interview with someone. Since we're here at FantasyCon having a great time, we have an interview. Move down. Tom, let's have you come up. We want to do an interview with somebody from FantasyCon to let you guys kind of know what it's all about. Hopefully, it'll be back in years to come, and that will be a lot of fun. So while Tom comes up, let's give him a round of applause here, everybody. This is Tom Allen. Tom, thanks for being on the show with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you taking the time.
I'm actually not with FantasyCon. Like,
You're not
I'm
with.
employee.
But you do there. Tell us what you do for them.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh,
Just don't drink my water.
sure, Cole. He interrupted me. You should have licked the rim.
That totally would have been awesome.
So what do you do for FantasyCon?
Well, what I have done for FantasyCon is a few months ago, the PR agency that's helping FantasyCon get the word out that it's going to be here asked for a bunch of local bloggers and podcasters to start using their social media platform to get the word out. You know, a lot of the people that buy tickets and are involved in this kind of genre are on Facebook and Twitter and a bunch of other things. So they wanted to hurry up and get that out rather than hiring a bunch of people to do it. We already had built-in user bases.
So for those out there in TV land who don't know about FantasyCon, what is FantasyCon?
Actually, that's a great question because that's probably the number one question everybody involved in FantasyCon gets is, what is FantasyCon? It's not Comic-Con. It's not about Star Trek, Star Wars, anything Star. It's about fantasy. The Hobbits, Dwarves, Lord of the Rings. It's totally different than any other con I've been to, and the reason why is because they've taken all of the it's about the actors and brought in all the artists and the things that happen inside of fantasy. Like we've got a huge battle area in the middle of the floor where they're doing yesterday I saw these guys in full-on armor beating the crap out of each other with wooden, I mean, they're just pounding on each other. So there's those things, and they have stuff for kids. There's all kinds of immersive things going on. Hands-on, get involved. It's not just walking around, looking at vendors, seeing some art on the wall. It's actually getting involved.
This is a little bit more hands-on.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Josh, the guy who founded FantasyCon, that's what he wanted more than anything. He wanted people that came to the show, come to the con to be part of it. And without the people being part of it, it's not, it doesn't make sense.
So why do you think that, because obviously Comic-Con just came to Salt Lake last year, and now we have FantasyCon. Why do you think that people like fantasy and see it as different from Comic-Con? Because I know a lot of people out there are going to say, oh, well, aren't they the same thing? Why? And obviously they're not. But what would you say to that?
Well, if you look at the people that come to this con versus, say, Comic-Con, it's a lifestyle for them. I mean, they live this. They go to other events that have to do with fantasy, the LARPing, the live action role play, and they have costumes, they have groups. I mean, beyond these cons, they live that in their daily life, and those are the kind of people that are going to be involved in this. When they go to Comic-Con, that's not what Comic-Con's about. Although there are people that come to that type of convention who dress up and in their costumes, it's not as immersive as this, and I think that's one of the big differences between.
Well, one of the things that I've enjoyed about being here is that everything here seems to be a little bit bigger than at Comic-Con. I mean, the statue, that dragon, and there's a statue right over here that's a fountain that is awesome. I mean, you don't have that sort of stuff.
Right, it's water is spewing out of the dragon's mouth onto a a guy that has a shield and a sword and he's defending something, right? Interactive. You would never see that at Comic-Con, ever. You wouldn't see the 40-foot sentinels greeting you when you walk through the entrance. You wouldn't see a dragon with a 50-foot wingspan, that took 5 years to build. You would never see that at Comic-Con. And the reason why? It takes up space. But Josh, Josh again, he's like, if I have to have fewer vendors and more stuff to have fun, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what he did. He knocked out, months ago he was telling us that he knocked out a bunch of vendor space so he could have a big battle.
It's big arena too.
It's big, and because it's important. That's what the draw is, more than buying the trinkets and whatever else is being sold. Right? Not that that's bad, but I'm just saying he wanted people to have more fun than to worry about coming here and spending a bunch of money. Because you already spent money to buy a ticket. Why don't you have fun when you get here?
That's what I found that other cons are more focused on the experience that you have with, more focused toward the celebrities. And that's what I like about this is it's focused toward all of the people that purchase a ticket and come through the door. It's not about the celebrities. It's not about anything else but individual people.
Right. Now, one other thing that I thought was really interesting is that you guys also have a stage with performances and stuff going on the entire time. Tell me about that.
So another thing that Josh wanted was some of the local art culture to come to the con. So he had the Utah Arts Council. He has the Utah Symphony performing. There's some ladies, and I apologize, I can't remember the name of the group, but they're the ones that are on those silk, long silk.
We interviewed them on Thursday.
It's just amazing to me to see, but they do it to the backdrop of music that's fantasy related. So the orchestra was performing music that's fantasy, I guess related, and there's little groups like that all over the place. There's jugglers, there's magicians. They have the whole full stage to talk about all the art that's going on. So it was really nice to have that.
So what do you think the chances are of this coming back next year?
I know for a fact it'll be here for several more years.
All right, there we go. Let's give that a round of applause.
Can I ask, do we know if they're going to try for maybe a different time next year? Because this time seemed a little not the best.
So, this is gospel according to me. It was a tough spot because Comic-Con had just happened. There's another Comic-Con in September. I don't know if Josh will try to get a different time. I don't know if it'll be the 4th, like the 4th of July weekend, but it'll probably be this general time again next year. So.
All right, how can people find out more?
Yeah, go to fantasycon.com. Also on Facebook, Twitter, same hashtag join the adventure. All of that's available online.
All right, well, Tom, thank you very much for coming up and talking to us. All right, you guys go ahead and move back down. I want to be close to you. I like my guys. So, is everybody enjoying the con so far? Yeah. You guys are having a good time? What's been your guys' favorite thing? This? Of course this.
Of course this.
Of course this. The entire massive crowd that we have here.
Fire eaters and the fire dancers.
Ooh, fire eaters and fire dancers. I didn't see those. Are they around today? Are they around today?
I believe so.
I want to get trained on how to do that.
I don't think you do.
No, I do.
You're going to burn your moneymaker off.
No, that would be awesome.
I played with fireworks last night. I burned my finger.
Did you burn yourself?
So I'm happy just watching somebody else do it.
I was telling my son that I had lit one off on my chest one time, which is it's a total lie. And he asked me, really? And I said, no, I didn't. Don't ever do that. But if you did, I would film it. So everybody's having a good time. I've really enjoyed walking around and seeing all this stuff. This is a very different experience for me to be here.
Do we ever? I was gonna say, in this one, I don't feel like most cons. I felt like, okay, I gotta hit the floor and I gotta cover all the vendors and see if there's some trinket and stuff. But for this one, I see those performances and the stages and the rooms, and it's much easier to sit down and be like, oh, hey, I want to
Stop for a second. I want to watch this.
It's not as
or
rushed.
I wanna,
It's not as you have to go to this place to this place. It's much more of an immersive experience.
I love it, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been cool. Well, does anybody from the crowd have any questions for us about the show or any behind-the-scenes stuff or anything like that? Anything? Kind of explained everything. Oh.
When does season 2 start again?
Season 2 will start the first week in September, the week before Comic-Con.
So you guys do live audiences. How do people get involved in that?
We post it on Facebook every week.
like a Geek Report. On
Yeah, Geek Report on Facebook. Like us. And we post on there as to when. Generally, it's on Thursdays. It's on Thursday evenings. We do it as close to Saturday as humanly possible because we want the news to be crisp. It's a quick turnaround to get it all edited and put together, but we get it done.
And let me tell you, if there's something like a Star Wars announcement on a Friday, it's like, damn you!
Yeah. And sometimes we're willing to, like if it's a big chunk of news, we'll go in Friday morning, we'll actually film a real quick thing. Because how the show runs is that the first part is the Week in Geek, where we go over all of the news. So everything from, everything that's geek, like we said at the beginning. We have all of that news for the first segment of the show. The second segment of the show, we do an interview where we talk to somebody in the industry. We interviewed Dan Farr from Comic-Con. We interviewed John Rhys-Davies day before yesterday. We interviewed Lou Ferrigno. We do that sort of stuff in that segment of the show where we interview industry, we interview comic book artists, all that stuff.
Film producers.
Yeah, film producers. Yeah, the whole thing. So, and then the next segment of the show is we actually do a full-on story, like a packaged piece, which nobody really does anymore.
A long form too. I mean,
yeah, long form.
Not like a minute, 10 seconds that you see on the news channel. We're at 4 or 5 minutes solid.
Yeah, so this is a long format, so it's very different because nobody else either has the resources or the storytelling ability to do that. So we have that. So we've done a story on 3D printing where Drew actually went to a 3D printing shop, and that was awesome.
To just see them make everything there and all the different printers and the styles, and so it's just fun to get that kind of get that kind of insight and stuff. Like you don't usually see that.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like they actually had this. It was the coolest thing. It was like a little diorama of zombies. Like a zombie apocalypse. So you had a wall and you had people behind it who were defending and they had guns. And then you had zombies on the other side who were trying to go through the windows. It was printed in color in a single piece.
It was about this, yeah.
Yeah, it's about that big. It's about that big. It was amazing, and they could print it. So we got if you look over here, you can see the Geek Revenger. That's our thing. In the starting of the show, you see him in 3D and all of this stuff. They actually printed out 3D versions of him on a little thing that said the Geek Report on it and everything. And
pretty cool.
So it was awesome. If you're watching this online, you'll see footage of it, but they were really, really cool. So we do stories like that. We did a story on the 48-Hour Film Project. We did a story on Comic-Con before as a preview piece so that people could learn a little bit more about it. So it's just a fun show. And
just about anything that people want to know more about, send it in to us, get us on the Facebook.
Yeah,
tell us what you want us to go
Let us know what you're a geek about.
Yeah, if you have access to something that you're totally geeky about, I'd love to talk to somebody that has like a bottle cap collection or something.
a what? Bottle cap collection? Sure. Are you serious about that? Okay, that's geeky, but I don't know if we could do a story on that.
Sure. You give me that camera. I'll do it.
This bottle cap is from 1947. I don't know if that would. I don't know. I just don't know how.
If you have a bottle cap collection,
Contact us.
let's get together
on
and show
Facebook
you.
because he's going to shove it down my throat now. We're doing a bottle cap episode on the Geek Report. I just don't know how good of TV that would be.
Give me a camera.
Okay. Drew can tell the story.
We'll make it happen.
Oh, all right.
We
Hey,
will prove
okay.
you wrong.
I have a feeling this is going to be a challenge now. Here's laid down here at the panel at FantasyCon for the bottle cap episode.
Sitting behind your cushy desk.
Maybe I should broaden it. I'll broaden it out. Not just bottle cap collection, but some sort of geeky collection.
We've actually debated whether or not to do an episode on fantasy football
That's true.
because it's like mainstream geekage. Who was I talking to? Was it you? Where you saw a commercial where like a bunch of Star Trek guys are walking on the street, and then a bunch of guys who are about to go to a football game come out of a pub, and they got their face all painted. If this isn't real, it needs to be. But so the Star Trek guys stop on one side of the street, and stop, and then the sports guys stop, and they kind of all look at each other, and then they pass, and while they're looking back, you see their thought bubbles go up, and they're like, "Dude, those are freaks." And so the Star Trek guys say it about the sports guys, and the sports guys say it about the Star Trek guys. And I love that because that's what this is. We're all geeks. Everybody's a geek about something. That's the tagline of the show. And it's true. Whether you're a geek about sports, you're a geek about geek stuff, everyone's a geek, and that's why we all love this stuff. You have football conventions, you have all of that. So I think the more that we get along with each other, the more fun that we have together, the better off we're all going to be. Am I right?
Fly your geek flag.
Let your geek flag fly. And someday the Geek Revenger will be on that geek flag. Heck yeah. All right, well, I don't think we have very much else. We appreciate you guys coming. Yeah?
Who was your favorite special guest during the first season?
Oh. Who would that be for you, Andrew? I know who's going to be for the second season because you interviewed him yesterday.
Yes, I
on
did.
Thursday.
And
He got
that
to
was-
interview one of his idols. He got to interview John Rhys Davies.
so freaking cool.
Thursday. And it was cool. If you want to see it, we've already posted it on YouTube. It'll be cut down for the actual episode. But the whole thing, even when he complains about hieroglyph, which I thought was awesome. I don't know if you guys know this, but he spent the second half of last year filming a television show for Fox called Hieroglyph, set in ancient Egypt. Looks pretty cool. They canceled it before the first episode even aired. And he wasn't very happy about it. So when Andrew was like, well, we look forward to seeing you in the next thing. And he's like, well, what you won't see is I wasted half my year filming Hieroglyph and they didn't even pick it up. It was funny as crap.
You know, on the other hand, he did get paid, and he probably got paid
I'm
handsomely
sure he
for
did.
that.
But if
he got
if
paid a lot more than I get paid for doing this.
Okay, but here we just do a simple little TV show, a podunk TV show that airs on the CW, and you still want people to watch it. It doesn't matter if, we all got, if you get paid, that's all fine, but you want people to actually see what you did. So I understand his frustration on that, because if you spent your time, and if you're proud of it especially, then you want it to be seen. For the first season, interviewing Lou Ferrigno on the show was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun because I don't know, for some reason I thought that he was short. You kind of get that thought because on TV they, like Tom Cruise is like this big. He could have played one of the Hobbits without special effects.
I don't know. Let's do a straw. Who would think that Lou Ferrigno is short?
I thought he was short.
See, I did too.
I knew he's a bodybuilder, but I thought he was short.
Because that's the whole reason they hired him, is because he's huge.
I know, but they make anyway. I don't know why, but for some reason I thought that he was, but he's not. He's got 2 inches of height on me, and I'm a tall guy, and he's still huge. I mean, the guy's arms are like this big, and so I'm sitting there interviewing, asking about Salt Lake and about his stuff, and it's just like out the back of my head, I'm going, I'm interviewing Lou Ferrigno, and then the second I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy's huge. He could like crush me like that. So that one was really cool.
I really like Nick Gilliard he's a famous stunt guy, and he worked on
from Star Wars
the new Star Wars movies, boo. And Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and also The Last Crusade. He worked on both of those, and it was just neat to get to talk to him about his experience. How he got involved with being a stuntman. He actually ran away from home and joined the circus.
Oh, that's
I
right,
thought was just cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I also enjoyed interviewing Adam Baldwin from Firefly because I love that because I've loved him ever since Independence Day because he played that because I don't know, he just stuck in my head, and so I've loved him through all of his stuff. I thought
Who
it's
is he
been
in
awesome.
Independence Day? How do I not know this?
he was like the younger. He was a Marine dude. And he was always in his full uniform.
Really? I'm going to
full
have to
dress
go back
boots.
and look at that again.
Yeah, I always remember him going, sorry, Mr. President, it's a clean room. We can't let you in. And having the president go, open the door. And him just, and opening the door. I always loved that scene. That was cool. The craziest interview we ever did, what's the guy's name? Roger Rabbit?
Charlie Fleischer. Charles Fleischer.
That dude's nuts. That was the craziest interview
I don't.
ever.
Go to our Facebook page and scroll down a little bit. It's on there.
I don't know if I posted
I
it.
think you did.
Okay, I'm going to post it today if I haven't.
If you haven't posted,
I don't think I posted the full interview. He's in the episode that we did on Comic-Con.
insane.
Oh my gosh, insane. The dude was crazy. Like he was just like it was stream of consciousness stuff that he was just throwing out in the middle of the interview. And Andrew, it's hilarious because I'm standing there behind the camera. I got my producer filming. I'm just kind of standing there because we were switching off. I was doing some of the interviews. Andrew was doing some of the interviews. And I'm sitting there, and the look on it, because he'll ask him a question, be like, so what do you think about Salt Lake? And he would say something totally random, and Andrew would pull the microphone up kind of like, didn't know what to say because it was so random. I will post that so you guys can watch it because it is funny. It is a very, very funny interview.
No, and we had to pay for our interview.
Yes.
He's like, do you want to help
You
me? If you help
paid
me
for the
out,
interview.
then I'll give you an interview. You want to buy an autograph?
I didn't find out till
and then you can
after
interview me.
that he had actually paid for the interview. And I was like,
It was worth it. It was money well spent.
was funny.
Go watch it.
it was
If it's
very,
not
very
on
funny.
there today, then go watch it tomorrow because it will be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it was a very, very funny interview. And sometimes that's what you come across, that sometimes you'll see these celebrities or whatever, and you'll think that they have every right to kind of be jerky to you just because they're big, and they will be the nicest people. Like John Rhys Davies was so nice. And
Nice
he
when
was
the security guard was like, what are you guys
the
doing?
security guard was not happy. that
Well,
we were
stop
here.
what you're doing.
But he was like, I'm going to do this interview. And so it was great. And then you'll get people who sometimes you kind of like have to do a double take as to who they actually are. And they'll be total just jerks. They'll be like, I'm sorry, but I'm up here and you're down here. And so I'm not going to do an interview with you. So it's really surprising because sometimes the people you think that would be jerks are totally cool. And the people you're like, you really don't have a right to be a jerk are the jerks. So it's something you just kind of come across. Luckily, most of the people that we've interviewed have been awesome.
Yep.
They've been very kind to us. They've been very nice. And they get why they come to these sorts of events. They understand the fandom. They understand that they're going to have these people who love them from different things that they've done. And I got that vibe from John Rhys Davies.
Yeah.
Is that he kind of understood that, hey, they love something that I did, and so in some way they love me. And so he treats them with that kind of respect, of understanding that whether it's from their childhood or whatever, they see him in a certain way, and they want to have that connection with him. And he doesn't belittle them for that. And that's one thing that's cool, because some will.
Oh, he knows he's got food on his plate because of those people standing in line.
Yeah, which you should appreciate. I mean, that's the only reason that we're all here. I mean, sitting up at the panel or down there or whatever, it's because of the fans. It's because of people that like this stuff, that are here to get that smile on their face and to see all the cool stuff and maybe get an autograph from somebody that they, you know.
$30 right here after the show.
Yeah, Drew will do autographs after.
He'll give you an interview for $30.
Yeah. $30 for Drew. I'll do it for a hug. So, that got a reaction.
No, he'll do it for applause.
That
Come
got
on,
it.
everybody, a round of applause for Stephen
All
Human.
right. It sounds like there's more people in the room because of the acoustics. I love it. That's great. You could have like one person here clapping. It would sound like there's 40 people. I love it. There's more than one person in here. There's like 4.
The next panel.
So, yeah, are they? All right, well, we got to wrap it up. Really appreciate you guys coming. And for all of you who are watching this online and will be watching this on YouTube, we love you guys. Remember, Geek Report will be returning in the fall on CW at 9:30. And we will see you then on the Geek Report. Remember, everybody is a geek about something.